Today, we are going to continue our reading, but I want to talk a little bit about the Bible itself first. The Bible has two parts, and there's one part that talks about the beginnings of everything, and then there's a second part that talks about Jesus and things that happened after Jesus, well, as he was coming to be born and after he was in the world. And we call the first part, sometimes they call it the Hebrew Testament, because Hebrew was the language it was written in, and sometimes the second they call it the Greek, because Greek is what it was written in. Sometimes we call it the Old Testament and the New Testament, but here are some characters from the stories in the Old Testament that we've already talked about. Just as a review, you can see Adam and Eve in the back underneath a tree, and in a yellow robe next to them, a picture of Elijah. And there's Moses with a big long beard holding the Ten Commandments, and his little girl who saved him when he was a baby. There he's pictured as a baby in a basket, and the princess of Egypt who saved him. And behind them, David holding a stone, and Goliath, the giant that he ended up hitting with a stone and chopping his head off. And lots of other characters all the way through. There's Daniel from Daniel in the lion's den, and Noah with a dove that he sent out that let him know that the flood had gone away. And in this picture, we have some people we're going to meet in the New Testament, and they're quite a bunch too. And at the end of this series, we'll come back and look at their pictures and maybe talk about who all of them were. But the story we start out with today, it's one you hear every year at Christmas time, and we're going to read it over a few days. But the Christmas story actually starts before Christmas. And this is about Mary and Joseph. God had a special plan, and the plan began with God sending his angel, Gabriel. Angel means messenger. And this messenger, Gabriel, was delivering a message to a young woman whose name was Mary. She was soon to be married to a carpenter, a man whose name was Joseph. When Mary saw Gabriel, she was afraid. Here's a picture of it. There are a lot of pictures of this and what it must have been like. And you can see she was kind of scared. And I don't blame her. I mean, you'd be scared too if an angel suddenly appeared. If you weren't scared, I'd be a little bit surprised. Anyway, so here's Gabriel, and he's talking to Mary, and this is what he was telling her about. When Mary saw Gabriel, she was afraid, and Gabriel said, "Don't be afraid. You have been chosen to have God's son, and you'll name him Jesus." Mary was confused. She was wondering how this was going to happen. And Gabriel said, "You have to just trust God. All things are possible with God. Let God work out the details." And that's always good advice. That's very good advice. Always trust God. If God's got something in mind, he'll help it happen. Mary said, "I do love God, and I'll trust him, and I'll do whatever he says." Boy, if Jonah had said that, he would have had a much easier way of it, wouldn't he? If all of us had said, "It's okay, we'll trust God and do what he says," that would make life a lot better for everybody, actually. And it is what Mary said. And that's when the angel left her and went back to heaven. His job was done. He gave her the message, and she heard it. Now, that's where it all started. Joseph, meanwhile, he was having a visit from another angel. And that angel came to him in a dream and told him about what was going on, because it was going to take a little bit of help from him too. And the angel told him, Don't be worried about marrying Mary. She's going to have some really strange news for you. But it's okay, it's from God. And Joseph believed as well. And when Mary came to him and when they had their talk, they decided they would both help God do what he had in mind. And it was going to be a very, very important thing that they had, because they were going to be taking care of the baby Jesus. We'll get to that tomorrow. I'll see you then. Sleep well. Good night.